Thank you for joining me on the journey. This is Completed Christianity. So, 119 Ministries, they've put out this video about how, it's okay to celebrate birthdays. It doesn't matter. There's no Torah command that says you can't, so you can, and if you say otherwise, then you're just adding to Torah. Well, this is very poorly researched and absolutely untrue. There is a Torah command to not celebrate birthdays, and I'm going to show it to you. So let's take a look. Observance of birthdays was common in early times. They were specially celebrated in the land of Egypt. Mark that down. Specially celebrated in the land of Egypt. There's no recorded instance in Scripture of celebration of birthdays among the Jews. On occasion of Herod's birthday, John the Baptist was beheaded. So let's ask John the Baptist what he thinks about birthday celebrations. So this argument from 119 Ministries on, it's okay, it doesn't matter, it's not in Torah, it's an extremely weak argument, and it's very surprising. I mean, weaker than the Mike Winger argument. It's very surprising this kind of work coming from 119 Ministries, because, all the props to 119 Ministries of what they do. Their work is, over the years, has been great. And with 119 Ministries, probably the best thing is the Pauline Paradox series. If you haven't seen that, go to 119 Ministries YouTube channel, website, and watch that series. It's life-changing. So, moving on. The ancient world of Egypt, Greece, Rome, and Persia celebrated the birthday of the gods, kings, and nobles. From Encyclopedia Americana. The early Christians did not celebrate Messiah's birth because they considered the celebration of anyone's birth to be a pagan custom, from World Book Encyclopedia. So, right there, World Book Encyclopedia, they're saying it's a pagan custom. There's a reason for that, and we're going to see. Right here, this is from Huffington Post, HuffPost. When pharaohs were crowned in ancient Egypt, they were considered to have transformed into gods. This divine promotion made their coronation date much more important than their birth into the world. Scholars have pointed to the Bible's reference of the Pharaoh's birthday as earliest known mention of a birthday celebration around 3000 BCE, but Egyptologist James Hoffmeyer believes this referencing the subject's coronation date, since that would have been the Pharaoh's birth as a god. So, many references will state this, that the birthdays of the pharaohs weren't actually the day they were born, but the day that they were reborn. They were born as a god when they became pharaoh, when they became king, and so they were worshipped as gods. Linda Reynolds Lewis in Birthdays writes, birthdays have been celebrated for thousands of years in early civilizations, where the development of a calendar made an organized reckoning of birth dates possible. The horoscopes of ruling monarchs and their successors and rivals had to be cast with care, and birthday omens meticulously examined, for the prospects of the mighty would affect the prospects of the entire society. By the time of Ptolemy V, this practice was well established. Ptolemy, the ever-living, the beloved of Ptah, the son of two brother gods, was born on the 5th day of the month Dios, and this day was in consequence this day was in consequence the beginning of great prosperity and happiness of all living men and women. So here we have another representation of the pharaoh, that he is basically a god. He's the son of a god. Back to this slide, taking a look at the ancient world of Egypt. In particular, this is what we want to know. The ancient world of Egypt, it was a custom to celebrate birthdays, and not birthdays of like your common person, but birthdays of their gods or idols. So this is why we saw before here in World Book Encyclopedia that it says it's a pagan custom, because it was originally done by the nations, by the heathen, to their idols. So here is the main Torah command of that. After the doings of the land of Egypt wherein you dwelt, you shall not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan. So, after the doings of the land of Egypt, you shall not do. So, birthdays, this is a doing of the land of Egypt. And if you were a Hebrew in the first century, you'd know these kind of things. So, on to this scripture that it says to learn not the way of the heathen, and do not be dismayed in the signs of heaven. The signs of heaven is connected to astrology, and astrology is intimately linked to birthdays, and every year your birthday with the alignment of the stars depends all this stuff. And if you say, oh well, that's not what I do. I don't believe in horoscopes, and it's really not my birthday is really not a celebration of myself. It's just all done in humility and stuff like that. No, that's like saying we're still gonna celebrate Christmas. We're just not gonna put up a tree. And on to this scripture as well, and that you do not inquire the mighty ones, saying, how did these nations serve their mighty ones, and let me do so too. Do not do so to Yah your Elohim, for every abomination which Yah hates they have done to their mighty ones. So they have done birthdays to their mighty ones. And Yah says, do not do so to me. Grau's New Book of Knowledge, the early church fathers frowned upon the celebration of birthdays and thought them a heathen custom. Why? Because it was a custom that was linked to Egypt and pagan idols. Again, from Huffington Post, due to its belief that humans are born with original sin, and the fact that early birthdays were tied to, quote, pagan gods, the Christian church considered birthday celebrations evil for the first few hundred years of its existence. Around the 4th century, Christians changed their minds and began to celebrate the birthday of Messiah as the holiday of Christmas. This new celebration was accepted into the church partly in hopes of recruiting those already celebrating the Roman holiday of Saturnalia. So right there, you have the syncretism involved, where this stuff crept in over time as things got watered down more and more and more over the years. But even though, as we'll see here in a second, like the Catholics, what became as Catholics through the 2nd and the 3rd century, and into the 4th even, had gone away from the way. The Catholics had gone away from the way, but still they still had this that they had received, likely from the Hebrew culture, from the apostles. They received this, birthdays, that wasn't okay. The writings of the late 3rd century Catholic theologian Arnobius show that even that late, most Catholics were against the celebration of birthdays. As he wrote, You worship with couches, altars, temples, and other service, and by celebrating their games and birthdays, those to whom it was fitting that you should assail with the keenest of hatred. So he's saying you worship with couches, altars, temples, and other services to those to whom it was fitting for you to assail with the keenest of hatred. And also you celebrate their games and their birthdays. And it's talking about pagan gods that you should assail with the keenest hatred. The notion of a birthday festival was far from the ideas of the Christians of this period in general, and this is during the period is in the first 3 centuries, history of the Christian religion and church during the first 3 centuries. In the lore of birthdays, when the early Christians were trying to fix the date of Messiah's birth, many of the church fathers proclaimed that there should be no attempt to celebrate it, as this was an impious pagan custom. Imperial Bible Dictionary, the later Hebrews looked on the celebration of birthdays as part of idolatrous worship, a view which would be abundantly confirmed by what they saw of common observances associated with these days. And Josephus tells us, says, "Nay, indeed, the law does not permit us to make festivals at the births of our children." And so the law he's speaking of here is Torah. And it's because we are not to do to Yah what the nations do to their idols. We're not to treat him that way. And like having observances, claiming an observance to for his son for a birthday at the time of a pagan holiday, and now calling it Christmas, that's not what he wants done to him. And that this is primarily an Egyptian custom of what they did to celebrate their idols in Egypt. So this is a doing of the land of Egypt, and he says not to do that. Not to do like the land of Egypt. Not to do what they do to their gods. And in the Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey, he says that the highest of all holidays in Satanic religion is the day of one's own birthday. And he says every man is a god if he chooses to recognize himself as one. So the Satanist celebrates his own birthday as the most important holiday of the year. So what fellowship does light have with darkness? We're supposed to not even appear to be doing the things that are considered not in the way, the things that are considered evil. We're supposed to not even give the appearance of doing those things. And with Job, Job, as further witness, curses the day of his birth. Same with David, and same with Jeremiah, and then Ecclesiastes, a good name is better than fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. And so, Origen, he writes, not one from all the saints is found to have celebrated a festive day or a great feast on the day of his birth. No one is found to have joy on the day of the birth of his son or daughter. Only sinners rejoice over this kind of birthday. For indeed we find in the Old Testament Pharaoh, king of Egypt, celebrating the day of his birth with a festival, and in the New Testament Herod. However, both of them stain the festival of his birth by shedding human blood. But the saints not only do not celebrate a festival on their birthdays, but filled with the Spirit, they cursed that day after the example of Job, Jeremiah, and David. So right there, there's no way that this could be researched out and said that, oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter, and that, you know, with 119 Ministries, they really missed it on this one. But, you know, like I said, check out their other stuff, the Pauline Paradox series. I mean, that's life-changing. Psalm 89:34, my covenant I will not break, nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Comment down below. Comments of opposition are welcome. Just don't say anything dumb like we're not under the law, we're under grace, because you've been taught to use that scripture outside of the bounds of its intended context. Subscribe now. Hit the subscribe button down below. Head over our channel page. Subscribe there. Hit the bell. Ring the bell so that you get notifications of new videos.